In the concrete jungle where the sun rarely shines through the smog and steel, there exists a breed of men who operate in the shadows. Men like the one they call Lone Shark, a name whispered in fear and respect, a man whose presence is as cold and calculating as the winter wind. The Lone Shark made his money in a city that never sleeps, lending money to those who have nowhere else to turn, then taking whatever they could offer as collateral. Cars, houses, sometimes even family members. For him, it was just another transaction, another notch on his bedpost of ruthless efficiency. But no one had ever offered him this before, not a child as young as 9, as innocent as the first snowfall, as fragile as a bird with a broken wing. He got her from a couple who owed him 20 grand. They offered him their daughter as collateral, hoping that if he took her instead, they could work off the debt. He agreed, seeing it as a good opportunity to get his money back and give the kid back to her parents once the debt was paid off. But he didn't count on her staying quiet for months. Not a word did that child utter until she was placed on the other side of his desk, looking up at him with eyes so filled with defiance that it startled him. "What's your name?" he asked, surprised by the unexpected crack in his own voice. The little girl looked away. "None of your business," she said, and that was that. She wouldn't tell him anything about herself, not her name, not where she lived, not anything. And he respected that. It wasn't his place to force her to talk. Still, it was strange. No one had ever given him any trouble when he took their stuff. Usually they begged him to take something else, anything else but their kids. But this one, she didn't cry, she didn't plead. All she did was look away. So he let her be, letting her sit in the corner of his office, lost in whatever world she had built inside her head. He only gave her food and made sure she slept well, tucking her in every night with a blanket. He told himself it was because he didn't want her catching a cold. But there were nights when he stayed awake just so she wouldn't feel alone. He had taken many things from people, their hopes, their dreams, their futures. But this, taking a child away from her home, it was different. It was colder, harder, and he hated the feeling. It twisted him up inside, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. But what he hated even more was the pitying looks he got from others. People saw what he was doing, a man in his late 30s taking care of a young girl. They assumed they knew his story, whispering that he was a monster, a predator waiting to strike. One day she came up behind him as he was working, placing her tiny hands on his shoulder. He froze, not used to anyone being so close to him. He slowly turned around, meeting her gaze. "Can I ask you something?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sure," he replied, wondering why she was being so hesitant. "Do you hate me?" Silence fell between them, heavy and thick. He looked away, unsure how to answer. Did he hate her? A part of him wanted to say yes, to push her away. But another part, the part he kept buried deep inside, wanted to reach out and hold her. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "No, I don't hate you. Why would you think that?" Her eyes dropped to his desk. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I just thought maybe you do." Another silence fell, this time comfortable, a silent understanding passing between them. He nodded. "Yeah," he finally said, knowing that for her, this might just be a normal day. But for him, it was a start of something new, something unexpected, something worth fighting for. As the days passed, the little girl became a fixture in his life. He continued his work, but now he brought her along, turning his cramped apartment into their shared space. Meals were simple, usually leftovers from takeout, but the silence between them was comfortable. He found himself enjoying the solitude, the normalcy of it all, waking up before sunrise, sipping coffee while reading over files, watching her draw or read. He'd watch her for hours, stealing glances, memorizing the way she frowned in concentration, the way she bit her lower lip when she was thinking hard, the way her eyes lit up when she found something interesting. He started taking her to the park near his apartment. She loved feeding the ducks, throwing crumbs, watching them fight over the food. Sometimes she'd run after the ducks, chasing them, giggling. When that happened, he felt a warmth spread through his chest, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. It was nice. Then there were the days when she sat quietly, lost in her thoughts, staring at the ground. Those days were harder. He'd bring her back home, tuck her in, then stay awake, waiting for her to sleep, hoping she'd be okay. Slowly but surely, he chipped away at her walls, earning trust with small gestures. A bedtime story, a comforting word, a shared silence. Then one day she surprised him. She was singing. It was a lullaby her mother used to sing to her, a song about stars and dreams and wishes. That day he understood. She wasn't just a debt repayment. She was a child who missed her mother, a child who needed love, a child who needed a protector. In that moment, he made a promise to himself to keep her safe. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Her silence was still there, but now it was filled with laughter, with art, with stories she drew in her notepad. He learned about her favorite color, blue, like the sky after a summer rain. He learned she liked pizza with extra cheese, hated broccoli, loved to swing so high she could touch the clouds. Then one day, everything changed. The door to his office was kicked open. He looked up, annoyance creasing his forehead. Standing there was the couple from before, their faces pale, their eyes wide with fear. "You," the woman started, her voice shaking. "We're here to collect." His eyes narrowed. "Collect what?" The man stepped forward. "Our daughter. She's ours." The little girl stood behind them, clutching a drawing pad. She looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Are you kidding me? You left her with me for months. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The man shrugged. "We needed the money. We made a deal." "So did I," he shot back, anger boiling inside him. "And I'm not breaking mine." She looked at him, her eyes pleading. "Please," she whispered, "I don't want to go back." He felt a pang in his chest. He looked away, struggling to keep his voice steady. "It's not up for discussion." The man grabbed her arm, but she pulled away, hiding behind him. "No, let me go," she cried out. "Please." He felt his blood boil. How could they do this to her? To him, he had taken care of her, loved her, protected her. She was his now. He looked down at her, her face streaked with tears, her eyes filled with fear. He knelt down, meeting her gaze. "Don't worry," he whispered. "You're safe here. You'll always be safe here." He looked back at the couple, his voice dangerously calm. "Get out," he said, "and don't ever come back." They hesitated, fear replacing their bravado. "You wouldn't," the woman started. "I would," he cut her off, standing up, his shadow looming over them. "Get out." They didn't need to be told twice. They ran, practically, and he shut the door behind them. He turned back to her, but she had disappeared. He found her by the window, hugging her knees to her chest. "What are we gonna do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. He joined her, sitting down beside her. He didn't have an answer, not one that wouldn't shatter her innocence, not one that wouldn't break his own heart. All he could do was hold her, letting her cry on his shoulder, whispering reassurances he himself couldn't fully believe in. In that moment, he knew he'd do anything to protect her, even if it meant giving up everything he had ever built. Because in her eyes, he'd found a reason to keep going, a reason to hope for a better tomorrow. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, they sat there together. Two lost souls finding solace in each other's company, ready to face whatever tomorrow might bring.